Hey, this is Vu, and today I'm going to be talking about what you should be buying on pistol rounds. And this is a pretty big gap in a lot of people's knowledge, and especially when you get lower down in the ranks, most people just default to armor without really even thinking. So going into it, I'm first going to be talking about armor here, and generally there's two scenarios where you want to be buying armor. Scenario number one is where you're playing a spot where you don't have to actually hold on to the spot. So somewhere like long here is great if you're playing it solo, where you can hold on to the spot. You can take a couple shots, fall back, take another couple shots, fall back again, take another couple shots, and you're just focusing on lining up the easy shots. And you want armor here mostly so you don't get aim punched, because they're going to run around the corner, they're probably going to hit you, and you just want to line up easy shot, take one, take two, fall back. You want to make sure it's easy. And the other thing is, of course, you don't want to get killed by Glocks, because Glocks will actually kill you fairly quickly if you don't have armor. It's actually pretty surprising. Now, scenario number two, somewhat related, is when you're just playing long-range angles. Obviously, when you're playing a spot you don't have to play, you're trying to play long-range angles, but if you're trying to hold a spot where you have to hold the spot, like Goose here on A, and you want to hold long range angles, you want armor just so they can't spam you down. They have to hit some pretty crazy headshots from really long range. Now, the next thing to think about is the kit buy. And this is going to be really important because you generally do want to kit on pistol rounds. Don't be a loser, buy a diffuser, and you want that diffuser on a rotator. So on Inferno, Arch side is a good example, but on Dust 2 here, mid is the perfect example, and that's because he will always be near the bomb site when he dies, or at least in a route that someone will be taking to the bomb site. If he dies in middle and they're going B, someone from A can pick it up. If he dies near A, someone from A can pick it up, or someone from B rotating can pick it up, and so on. It's always going to be accessible. If someone has the kit at long A and the long A guy dies in long A, nobody can pick that up, and so it's pretty much useless. Now, next up is going to be nades. Nades are what you want to buy, and generally I would go for a smoke nade flash. You generally want to buy them when you're holding onto a site and you need to hold the site. So somewhere like B here on Dust 2 is where you need these nades, because generally a terrorist squad is going to be 5-man rushing you, and when they 5-man rush you, your goal is not to kill all of them. That's generally pretty rarely going to happen. Your goal is to delay for the rotates, because the USP is a better gun than the Glock. If you just have 5-on-5, you should nearly always win. So what you're going to do, throw your smoke, throw your nade hopefully, and delay for the rotates. And generally if you can get to a spot like this where they can only see your head, that's optimal. But again, your main goal here is to just delay for those rotates if they're hitting in on top of you, because you're not going to be able to kill them all the time anyways. Now, the final thing to talk about for CT side is going to be the 5.7. Now, personally, I have a CZ here, and I wouldn't recommend buying this on pistol rounds. I would recommend buying a 5.7 in certain scenarios, and those scenarios are places like here, where you can actually smoke off tunnels if you want. This is a great spot if your teammate mid has a kit and he wants to not take those long-range engagements at middle without armor. He can come window, and you can come close up with a 5.7, kind of let them run in, and then spray them down. This is great for spots that are kind of like the M4A4, where you're not going to be able to reload, so you just want those 20 bullets to get as many kills as possible, especially if you're not going to be able to shoot their heads very easily from very close range. So that's a great spot. So is Checkers on Cash or Hut on Nuke. Those are also great spots to consider using a 5.7. Now, on T side, a little bit differently than on CT side, generally you just want to buy armor. You want to have one guy. Most pro teams will do 1 or 2 people with a smoke and a couple flashes, or just a smoke, and they can kind of make these rushes happen. But like I said on earlier, generally you're going for a 5-man rush. You don't want to have too much nades or flashes. What you're trying to do is basically run out with your Glock out. You do this clown movement where you're crouching up and down, avoiding getting shot in the head, and you want to have that armor because the USP, they'll hit you a lot and they will aim punch you nearly every time. The only scenarios where you don't want armor is, again, if you're going to have that smoke and that flash, or if you're terrible with the Glock, you can try buying a Tech 9. I would recommend not getting the P250 because you have to stop to shoot it, and when you stop, they're either going to headshot you or they're going to aim punch you and make you inaccurate anyways. One thing I would recommend though is if you are kind of the smoke bitch and you're buying a smoke, consider buying up a Tech 9 and dropping that to a teammate. The Glock is not that bad of a gun if you get aim punched, but the Tech 9 really is. Anyways, thanks for watching and I hope this helped.